Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks, where today I'm going to give you the recap for the week that was, or at least the first part of the week that was, in pro wrestling. Starting with Monday Night Raw, NWA Power, and AEW Dynamite. Got some interesting stuff going down. So, sit back, relax, grab yourself your favorite beverage, and let's do this. As we start off with Monday Night Raw, and it starts out with a Judgment Day promo. And, you know, it's whatever. It's a little repetitive, sure, but at least they got something a little interesting to say. They congratulate the Creed brothers on winning their gauntlet match last couple weeks ago. Now they face the champions, and it's the biggest night in their career, but for Judgment Day, it's just another night in the office. Nice little line. Then the microphone gets passed to Rhea Ripley, who calls out Ivy Nile, who pretty much says, "You run your mouth again. What I did to Maxine will pale in comparison." And before anyone else continue, R-Truth comes out. He gets on the mic, pretty much says, "Guys, why did you leave me in the back? If you knew Judgment Day I didn't know Judgment Day was going to open the show. I wanted to be out here with my boys." Damian Priest then gets on the mic and says, "Bro, I hate to break it to you, you're not in Judgment Day." Which kind of bums R-Truth out, who retorts, "Yeah, neither is JD McDonough." Who then proposes that tonight, in the 34th Street street fight, and yes, that is a thing, the loser gets kicked out of Judgment Day. Rhea Ripley's trying to play it off like, no, that's not gonna happen, because you're not in Judgment Day. Then Priest, who is trying to keep himself together, gets on the mic, pretty much says, "You know what? I like that idea. Let's do it." So, ding, 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 ding. Your first match up on the card is R-Truth taking on JD McDonough in a Miracle on 34th Street fight, which basically it's Christmas themed. You got Christmas trees out there. You got a plate of cookies, candy canes, stuff like that. And of course, they just start hitting each other with it right off the bat. Truth near the end goes for a 5-knuckle shuffle, in which I forget he was inspired by John Cena, which, figure that out. He goes for an AA, but that gets blocked. Truth then gets one of the trees, chucks it, Rhea Ripley moves, and it hits JD. JD eventually sets up a table in the ring. They try to put each other through it. And then R-Truth with a big splash through the table for the 1, 2, 3. So your winner, R-Truth. And we'll see what's going on with that a little later on. Next up, we got a Katana Chance and Caden Carter promo. Pretty much talking about how tonight is going to be the biggest night in their careers. They're going to take the titles off the champs. Your time is up. Our time. It's time to party. So, fun little promo there. We then go to a Nia Jax promo, which immediately gets interrupted by the man Becky Lynch, who's looking for a fight. And we're looking to do it here tonight. Nia Jax then announces herself for the Royal Rumble in the most casual way possible. And then Becky's like, "You hear that? No one gives a toss. No one cares. But you know what they're going to care about? They're going to care about me whooping your butt pillar to post." So Nia looks like she's gonna get in the. She asks for a ref. Ref comes running down from gorilla position, gets in the ring. Nia Jax slowly gets on the apron. She's like, "No," jumps down, heads to the back, gets on the microphone. "I'm not gonna do this here in this podunk town. We're gonna wait a couple of weeks for day one in my hometown of San Diego, California, where I'm gonna squash you and break your face again." And so I'm gonna say this. I don't really care that much about Nia. I definitely think Becky Lynch should win this, because I see Becky Lynch challenging Rhea at WrestleMania. So, yep. So, we'll see what happens there. And as Nia is walking up the ramp, Becky Lynch attacks her from behind, and officials are out to break it up. We then see earlier footage, I guess before the show starts, of Kofi Kingston dressed up as Santa Claus, passing out gifts to the crowd, which is honestly very nice. I like that. We then cut to Kofi Claus, which is what I'm going to be calling him from now on. In the back, he runs into DIY, who say, "Yeah, we want a tag team title shot. You got that in your little sack there?" He's like, "No, but I do have the Jey Uso Yeet shirt," which, that's funny. And Gargano and Ciampa are acting like, that one little kid who got the N64 for Christmas. You all know that one video. Then we continue with DIY, who run into The Miz, which, interesting shot choice. They pretty much say, "Look, we've had our differences, but what we really need from you is to take the title off of Gunther." Then it turns into a Miz interview, in which he pretty much says, we won't know who Gunther really is until he's at the bottom at Survivor Series. An entertainer rocked him, and my goal is to be the 9-time Intercontinental Champion. And as for the pressure, ask the man who never wants to face me again about added pressure. Which, a nice little babyface Miz promo. I really liked that. We roll right into that match, as it's the Intercontinental title on the line, as The Miz takes on Gunther. And I cannot believe this. I cannot believe I'm saying this. This was an exquisite match. Everything worked. And I don't know if it's because Gunther is such a super worker, or if Miz has been actually hitting the mat a little bit more often. But this match was excellent. Miz looks like he's got Gunther on the ropes, including hitting a skull-crushing finale from the second rope. That only gets 2. That wakes Gunther right up. Hits couple of power bombs, a Rainmaker, Okada to WWE confirmed, and another power bomb to pick up the victory. And holy crap, that was a good match. If you haven't seen that match yet, go give it a watch. I cannot believe I'm saying this about a Miz match, and a babyface Miz match as that. And exactly the point too. The crowd was fully behind The Miz. I can't believe what alternate reality are we in that The Miz is getting cheered as a babyface? It is absolutely insane, and I love it. Anyway, we go to a Creed Brothers vignette. They're talking about how they want to dethrone Judgment Day for the tag titles. We then see Gunther walking around backstage. He runs into the rest of Imperium, who are congratulating him on his performance. Gunther then interrupts, pretty much saying, "You two have no reason to be jolly. The last year has been a complete write-off for you two. So, for the next couple weeks, I'm going to be taking a hiatus. You two are going to stay here, you're going to grind, and you're going to prove yourself to me." And then Gunther walks off. We then see Kofi Claus come in. Imperium's trying to wave him off. And Kofi brings out a gift for them. And they're like, "Oh, okay, cool." They open it. Big old lump of coal. Honestly, I don't want to see Imperium break up, but that was funny as hell. Like, that was hilarious. So, that'll lead into something a little later, which is what I love about the Triple H booked WWE. Things lead into things. It's great. You'll see that later. Then we get a very interesting backstage promo from Shinsuke Nakamura reading The Nightmare Before Christmas. The American Nightmare Before Christmas. Kind of poking holes in Cody Rhodes' story. Calling Dusty Rhodes inbred. Which dang, Nakamura! So it was pretty much, 'twas the night before Christmas with, wrestling intervals, which was honestly really good. I had a little hard time catching up because he was speaking in Japanese, which I am so happy they are not forcing Nakamura to speak in English, because he has such a presence and a charm to him when he speaks in his native tongue. It works. So then, once Nakamura is done, from out of nowhere, Cody Rhodes comes in and they start brawling. They brawl right into the arena. They're at ringside. Cody Rhodes sets up the announce table. Looks like he's going to hit a crossroads into it. But security? Someone from security saves Nakamura? In which, that's weird, I guess. I don't know. I thought that was a little weird, but ultimately, we'll see what happens. Next up, we see Akira Tozawa and Adam Pearce talking backstage, with Pearce asking Tozawa, "Is this really the match you want?" And Tozawa's like, "Yeah." And then he walks off. Green and Piper Niven come in, asking Adam Pearce to cancel their tag team title defense. We gotta get ready for Christmas. And Adam Pearce says, like, "Yeah, I could see what you're going, but that's a no. You're gonna defend your tag titles." So Green and Niven leave in a huff. Bronson Reed then comes in, pretty much asks, "Look, I hear you got plans for Gunther's next challenge. Let's talk in my office." And, dude, Bronson Reed versus Gunther. Yes, please. I don't care if I've seen it before. They're great together. Next up, we got the women's tag team titles on the line, as Katana Chance and Kaden Carter take on Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. And, Green was pretty much hiding behind Piper Niven the entire time, only going in to get really cheap shots. But then Carter and Chance start gaining momentum. They start, doing a lot of good. Green tries for the Unpretty Her, which is a great name for that move. But that gets blocked. Chance with the lung blower Carter tags in, goes right up top, hits the after party, which is looks to me like the Motor City Machine Gun Skull and Bones move, which I absolutely love, to pick up a surprising win and win the tag team titles, which, you know what? I'm going to give them a little round of applause for that. It was a fine tag team match. Nothing super to write home about, but the title change, that was surprising. I didn't see that happening. I do hope they keep Green and Nevin together, because they work as a tag team. Even for a thrown together tag team, they work. Anyway, we see Alpha Academy training up Ivy Nile, who pretty much says, look, I'm ready to go. I'm going to ask Pierce for a match with Rhea at day 1. She walks off. Tozawa comes in, who pretty much says, yeah, I have a match tonight. Gable asks, with who? And he points with him. It pans to Ivar, who's like, see you out there. He walks off. Chad Gable then gets in Tozawa's ear. He's pretty much says, like, Tozawa, I know I told you to go big in the new year, but I think that's a little too big for you. So that's going to be interesting. Then we see Chance and Carter backstage. They're celebrating with their tag team titles. They run into the rest of the women's tag division, which is like, it's Nox and Natalya, Baszler and Zoe Stark. And so they're kind of celebrating. Hopefully, Claus walks up, pretty much says, oh, what do you ladies want for Christmas? And they look at each other, they say, we got all we need right here. So, let's go party. So, about half of them leave, they go to whatever Christmas party. And, Baszler and Stark, along with, Natalya and Nox, they're kind of talking, alright, we got some new champions. They could use some new challengers. I was thinking the exact same thing. And all four have a stare-off. Probably going to get that match sometime in the near future. We then go right into Ivar versus Akira Tozawa. A bit of an extended squash match, but I feel like Tozawa got a lot more in than he normally does, which is always really good. But ultimately, Ivar wins with the world's strongest slam from the top rope, which that was absolutely impressive. I do hope they do something with Ivar, because he's too good to just be squashing dudes. We then get a promo from Seth Rollins. And no, I will never call him Seth Rollins. He's commenting, oh, things are heating up around here. And then after confirmation last week, I'm more motivated to be the best champ in the industry. And just see what we do in 2024. And as for that, my first title defense will be at day 1 against Drew McIntyre. Tries to continue. Drew McIntyre then comes out. Pretty much says, with Seth starting off, saying, before you start, I didn't forget about your cheap shot last week, so tread lightly. McIntyre then replies, I'm not here for a fight. I'm proud of you. I'm not kissing Punk's ass either. And that takes gumption. That's what a real leader does. You're on top of the world. You're on a roll. Feels pretty good for you. I've been on a little bit of a reflection lately. I had a chance to go home and feel see my family, and I felt guilt for that, not doing that. And after 16 years, I have questions if this all is worth it. And if you have someone in your house that can relate, and they want to be a part of the conversations, and when you got a chance to be with your family, they'll tell us, no, go chase your dream. And then all of a sudden, they're not here. Look at me, Seth. I don't want your title. I need it, and I'll be willing to hurt you to take your title. And goes along about a family, like, this is a heartfelt promo from Drew McIntyre. It almost made me cry. So then Seth replies, I really don't know how to feel about you, man. Like, I want to believe your words, but your actions and words do not add up. I respect you. You've earned this opportunity. But what makes you think the outcome will be different from Crown Jewel? So that you're willing to do anything. You're willing to cheat, take shortcuts. And even if you fail, once again, you'd still want to shift the blame to others. You need to take responsibility for your actions and face the truth. And there's one person holding Drew McIntyre back, and that's Drew McIntyre. And I meant what I said last week. I don't hate you. I pity you. Oh, that is a clear shot at AEW, because Hangman Page used that same line on CM Punk. So then Drew attacks Seth Rollins right on the ramp, throws him right into the barricade, and it's an Alabama slam on the ring steps, and that sound, just the clang, oh, that sounded like it hurt. Like, oh, man. So then, next up, we get the Creed brothers. They're working out backstage. They're warming up for their main event. And then Cody Rhodes comes in. He says, guys, I just want to thank you for having my back against Judgment Day last week. And tonight, give Judgment Day hell from me. And then Cody Rhodes walks off. And the Creeds kind of mark out a little bit. Which, honestly, I know they're supposed to be professionals. But I think that was a nice little moment of a couple of younger guys having a reaction to a veteran, which I think it's a nice little moment. We then cut right back to ringside area, where Kofi Claus is once again handing out presents to the crowd. Then all of a sudden, Imperium just attacks him from behind. And who makes the save? It's very interesting. It's main event Jey Uso. And the reason why this is so interesting is because the Usos and the New Day were probably one of the biggest tag team rivalries WWE had. Like, they've gone back and forth so many times. So then, Jey Uso gets in the ring, tells Kaiser, come on, pretty boy, let's go. So then that leads into Jey Uso versus Ludwig Kaiser. They definitely have some good back and forth. Vinci tries to interfere, but ultimately he gets taken out by Kofi Kingston, who hits a Trouble in Paradise to Vinci, a spear from Jimmy to Kaiser, and Uso splash for Jey Uso to pick up the victory. Not a bad match per se, definitely a kind of a filler match, but again, I feel like there's going to be something to that, especially with Xavier Woods out for an undetermined amount of time for injury. Feel better soon, Mr. Woods. And so, maybe having Jey Uso and Kofi teaming up for a while wouldn't be a bad thing. We then go to the Judgment Day backstage. Their talk, JD McDonough's like, I lost. Maybe I shouldn't be in Judgment Day. Rhea Ripley's then like, hush up. That stipulation wasn't agreed upon. You're still in Judgment Day for now. And as for you two tonight, make an example of the Creed brothers and take them out. So that leads to our main event of Monday Night Raw. It's for the undisputed tag team titles, in which WWE, please, it's been time. Replace these nickel belts. It's time for a new design. Anyway, that little rant over as the Creed brothers take on the Judgment Day. And honestly, this match was kind of average. Like, it wasn't bad per se. I don't think the Creeds really gelled all that well with the Judgment Day. At one point, Rhea Ripley does try to interfere, but Ivy Nile takes care of her, in which I am now super excited for their match coming at day 1. Eventually, the Creeds hit the Brutus Ball, but that gets broken up. Finn Balor with a sling blade, a drop kick, a coup de grace, which gets countered. A Brutus Ball again, only for a 2 count again. A coup de grace to break it up. And then a South of Heaven choke slam from Priest for the Judgment Day to win and retain the tag titles. Again, not a horrible match, but this match kind of felt like it took its time to get to second gear. And then it didn't go any further, you know? Like, again, not a bad match, but not an overly exciting match. Either way, you know, really, really good episode of Raw. The penultimate one of 2023. As next week is going to be a best of, which gives me a night off. So, yeah, that should be a interesting one. And then it's day 1, which is January 1st. It's a special episode of Raw. Think of it as like a Fyter Fest or a Winter is Coming for AEW. It's a special episode. So, that should be fun. So that leads us right into NWA Power. And we start off with the TV title on the line as Dak Draper takes on Mims. That's right. Magnum Muscle imploding. And at first, they do have a little bit of a brotherly battle. They lock up, hit a couple of shoulder tackles. But then Mims takes it up a little notch. Hits a couple of sidewalk slams. No, Draper hits a sidewalk slam. But then Mims rolls out of the ring. There's about 41 seconds left. For TV title matches, there's a 6:05 time limit. So most of the time, Mims was actually playing defense, which is interesting. So Mims rolls out of the ring. The time limit's reached. So still your world TV champion, Mims. And we have in the ring, Dak Draper asking for 5 more minutes. But Mims is like, nah. So it looks like Mims is turning heel, which I'm not all for, but I'm not all against it. Like, I'm willing to see where this goes. So, next up, we got an interview from Blunt Force Trauma, a la Aaron Stevens, who's pretty much says, we've had more than enough time for prepare. You're not going to face this unstoppable train. You're diluted as faceless stare of domination. And you in the IWC wonder why they're wearing masks, is to show their dominance. And we're going to do anything to keep these titles and be the greatest team in the world. So, nice little promo from Aaron Stevens, hyping up their match in a couple of weeks, I'm going to say. Because we are getting the NWA Christmas special next week. So, I don't think we're going to be seeing any new content. But I could be absolutely wrong, and we shall see. Next up, we got a intergender tag team street fight, as Natalia Markova teams with Brian Idol, who is the former Mercurio. I mean, let's face it, it's Mercurio himself. It's not his cousin like the NWA want us to think. As they take on the power couple of Camille and Tom Latimer. And I'm going to say this was less of a plunder match than I thought it was going to be. But it was still hard-hitting, and it was really, really, really good. Markova with a beautiful destruction kick on Camille. Tom Latimer with a spear, but it hits Camille. And then Brian Idol with the DDT for the win for his team. So, yeah, we'll see where this power couple goes. Although, I do believe Camille's contract with the NWA is up pretty soon. So, she could be looking at free agency, maybe? We'll see. Then we get a really, really weird EC3 promo. You see, barcodes and a lot of internet stuff, which is very, very strange. He pretty much says, we are who we say we are. Cardona, I decline your challenge for a death match. Instead, I challenge you to an ultimate match of death. Which, I have no idea what that means. But I'm pretty excited for it. We then get an in-ring interview from the Southern Six. Pretty much saying, tooting their own horn. Pretty much saying, we've conquered all challenges here in the NWA. We're the hottest ticket in NWA. They're looking to maybe get out of town, celebrate a little early. And then the Miserably Faithful come out. So that's Gags the Gimp, Salvation, Salapal, and whoever the heck the big guy is. I forget his name, I'm sorry. Where they pretty much say, look, you can overlook us all you want, but tonight we're going to get the upper hand. And then Father James Mitchell, he's trying to sell some natural greens to the ring announcer, in which, yeah, that's a weed reference. Kind of making fun of the whole cocaine spot at Samhain, which I'm happy with that meta. That's funny. So then we go into our main event of the evening as the Southern Six take on the Miserably Faithful. And it was a decent main event. Like, it was nothing to write home about. But I do feel like Alex Taylor, Gags, and Salvation did really well together. Kerry Morton still has some work to do, I think. Like, he's a decent enough wrestler, but I feel like there's something a little bit missing with him. But then you get Thrillbilly Silas and Judas. That's the dude's name. And, yeah, big old hoss fight. I'm always down for one of those. Judas seems like he's really improved in the ring. he doesn't feel like the generic big guy anymore. He feels different. Near the end, Kerry Morton misses a kissy goodbye. Sal with a code red, but that only gets a 2 count. And then Silas Mason with the throw ride to pick up the victory for the Southern Six. And honestly, a little bit of a kind of a surprise finish there, but I was pretty entertained by the match. And yeah, we'll see what the Southern Six do from here. So that was NWA Power. We now go right into AEW Dynamite, where we get the last few matches of the group stage for the Continental Classic. We start off with the Gold League match as Swerve Strickland takes on Roosh. And, oh boy, what an opening contest. These two looked like they really wanted to beat the boo out of one another. Roosh pulling out a 450 splash, which that was interesting. But then Swerve with a brainbuster, only for a 2 count. Hits the house call, the Swerve stomp to pick up the victory. So he gets up to 12 points, and we'll talk about that in the main event. We then get a Chris Jericho backstage promo with him pretty much saying, look, I can confirm Kenny Omega is going to be out of action for a while. He's dealing with diverticulitis. And that obviously means we're not getting our tag team title shot at World's End. And right now, I don't know what to do next. But as of right now, Kenny's health is more important. We're all pulling for you. Take as long as you need. And then he does the Kenny Omega sign-off. In which, that was a really nice promo from Chris Jericho. And yeah, we're all pulling for you, man. Get better soon, Kenny Omega. Ba-bang. We then go back to the Gold League match, as it's the bottom two, both participants with 0 points throughout the tournament, as Jay Lethal takes on Mark Briscoe. And these two have a very storied history, both in AEW and also in the Sinclair-owned Ring of Honor. And this was a really, really fun match. Really good back and forth. Jay Lethal hits a J-Driller on Mark. That only gets a 2 count. Tries for the lethal injection. That gets blocked. A burning hammer on American TV. You don't see that one every day. And then a J-Driller by Mark Briscoe to pick up the victory and get his first 3 points. And yes, that means he and Jay Lethal are eliminated. So this was more like for pride than for anything else, which is sad because these two are both... Mark Briscoe should have a title at some point. But, yeah. Then, post-match, they shake hands. We then get highlights of MJF getting inducted into the Jewish Sports Hall of Fame, which, that's very nice. I like seeing that. We then get a Wardlow vignette, who's pretty much saying, look, this is no longer just a battle between good and evil. Max, we're getting closer to your world ending. The world will see you broken. Your payment will not be delayed any longer. And I'm going to be the one to bring the devil to his knees. Wardlow constantly mentioning the devil makes me think he's involved in this. And we're going to get to that in 1 second. As we have Samoa Joe promo in the ring. And he's looking for answers. And while he's asking the right questions, he's asking the wrong people. And he's seen many people assaulted by the devil. As Hangman Adam Page was his latest victim, we see the devil's goons attack someone with plenty of footage. And yet, once MJF was attacked, we don't see anything, in which he's got a good point. Anyway, this brings out MJF, who pretty much says, look, I got jumped in the back just like anyone else, so are you accusing me of being the devil? Joe answers, yeah. And MJF retorts, okay, that sounds really interesting. I recall Joe, you'd said you'd protect me before that match at World's End. And I can say this verbatim, MJF, you are my property. So now, No Show Joe, you clearly care as much about your property as much as you do your diet. Low-hanging fruit fat joke. Don't love it. Then he recalls, I don't recall last week when the goons surrounded the ring, them attacking you. Which, another good point. In which MJF continues, Joe, I don't like you. I don't trust you. Why am I waiting to World's End when I can end your world right here and now? It looks like they're about to brawl. They kind of push each other a little bit. Lights go out. Lights come back on. A couple of goons are ringside. They get in the ring. MJF and Joe fight them off. More come out from the crowd. Joe and they surround the ring. Lights go off again. The devil is on the screen. Now he doesn't say anything, but he does issue a challenge for the Ring of Honor tag team titles. And he continues, are you a hero, Max? And so, lights come back on, the goons are gone, MJF gets back on the ring. He pretty much says, look, Joe, I know you want to say no to this challenge again, but I promised my boy Adam Cole that I would defend these tag team titles no matter what. And before MJF can continue, Joe says, we accept. And they go to the back, which, yeah, very interesting. So, we'll see how that turns out next week. We then get an interview from the Best Friends, pretty much running down Orange Cassidy's time as international champion. Talking about Chris Statlander's successful teaming with Willow Nightingale on Collision. But then he turns to Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero, who, surprised to see him here. And Rocky Romero pretty much says, look, I've been champ for a long time. I just lost my CMLL title. And I just want more gold around this waist. And then Orange Cassidy answers, alright, if that's all you want, see you on Friday. So, looks like we're having an international title match between Rocky Romero and Orange Cassidy. Never thought I'd see that day. So, next up, we got Timeless Tony Storm on commentary as we see Saraya versus Riho, where the winner goes on to challenge Timeless Tony Storm at World's End. And honestly, this was an absolutely great matchup. Really, really good back and forth between the two. Eventually, Riho gets the stomp and the Meteora to pick up the victory. And then Toni Storm gets carried from commentary to the ring by Luther, who is now her butler, which is interesting. They have a little stare down, and then they just brawl it out. Riho with a 619 on Toni Storm. But then Mariah May comes out. She has Toni Storm's title, decks Riho with it. And then Toni Storm's like, ooh, is this a new challenge? I don't know who this is. But then Mariah's confirming, like, yeah, I'm your ally. I know you, man. So, yeah, we're going to see, we're going to see what happens there. Next up, we got a promo reading from Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone, I really don't know how to say his name, reading a note from Christian Cage, who pretty much says, look, after my victory over Copeland, me and Nick Wayne went on a little vacation. To put your mind at ease, we'll be back on Collision, and I will answer the challenge made by Adam Copeland. So, we'll see if that match gets made for World's End. I kind of hope it does, because that would be a big-time matchup. Next up, we see MJF and Samoa Joe. They're walking backstage. Then MJF looks down, sees a mask on the ground, picks it up, camera pans, Mogul Embassy. He then knocks on the door. Prince Nana opens it, and he's like, yeah, how can I help you? MJF grabs him, throttles him a little bit. Looks like he's going to beat the boot out of Mr. Nana. Out comes Swerve Strickland, who saves Nana, gets him back in the locker room. He and MJF talk about their history. Apparently they've done indie dates together and driven all around the country together, which, that's interesting, man. That's actually really cool. With Swerve calling MJF the best chauffeur he ever had. Which, that's honestly a little funny. MJF then replies, look, you happen to talk about Handmaid Page a lot. So check your tone, shows a little respect. Couple of things are odd. Obviously, the goal is to be champ. So why not have Hangman jump Hangman and have your goons jump everyone to get to me? So the question now is, are you the devil? Then Swerve replies, why would you think that? I have no issue with that. My focus has been on the Continental Classic. Then MJF replies, man, I'm going to huff, I'm going to puff, I'm going to blow your house down and break both your arms so you can actually swerve when you drive. Which, that's quite a line. So then, the embassy locker room door opens. Nana, Brian Cage, Toa Leona, and Bishop Khan are standing in the entryway. Then Samoa Joe walks up and he says, Gentlemen, this doesn't have to come down to fisticuffs. Me and my associate here have business to handle elsewhere, so they leave. And then Nana turns to Swerve, says, we got a big problem coming up. And then they close the door. So, Swerve being the devil. That would be kind of interesting, man. I wouldn't say no to that. If it keeps him in, like, the world title scene, I'd definitely be cool with that. Next up, a very interesting matchup, as we got Roderick Strong taking on Commander. A very interesting clash of styles, I'd say. Roderick Strong trying to ground Commander. Commander trying for his high flying stuff, but eventually he does miss on a moonsault, and Roderick Strong hits his End of Heartache to pick up the victory. Post-match, he has an interview with Renee Paquette, pretty much saying, look, Joe, please listen to me. It's so obvious MJF is the devil. I mean, Joe has even mentioned himself that MJF is the devil, and he gets taken out, and Joe is my best friend by proxy. So, we'll see what happens with that part of the story coming up. I got a funny feeling at World's End we're going to see something. I'm not sure if it's going to be a devil reveal, per se. But I think at least we're going to see one or more of the minions get unmasked. And finally, the last match of the Gold League Continental Classic Tournament, or at least for the round robin bit, it's Switchblade Jay White against Jon Moxley. And this was pure, unadulterated pleasure. This was a great match to watch. Lots and lots of good back and forth. Moxley early on trying for a paradigm shift, but that gets countered by Jay White. Jay White constantly trying to go for the Blade Runner, but that gets countered by Mox. At one point, Jay White gets a couple of chairs on the outside, throws one in the ring, ref goes and get it, hits Mox in the back of the leg with the other one, which, I mean, that's smart. A really smart heel move by Switchblade Jay White. Goes for the Kiwi Crusher, only gets a 2 count. Mox first tries for the Death Rider. That gets blocked. Jay White finally hits the Blade Runner for the 1, 2, 3. You're a winner, Jay White. And now what that means for the Continental Classic is Mox, Swerve, and Jay White all have 12 points. So the semifinal for the Gold League is going to be a triple threat match. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Post-match, Swerve comes out on the ramp. He's just kind of looking over his opponents for next week. And then Jay White continues his attack on Moxley, who is just writhing on the ground. So, that was a very, very, very good overall week of pro wrestling. Now, the next time I cover some wrestling stuff, it's probably either going to be next Tuesday or next Wednesday. And it's probably just going to be Collision and MLW Holiday Bash. Because tonight on Thursday, Impact is just doing the best of, which I'm going to watch, but I'm not going to cover. Probably nothing new is going to come of it. Unless they have some big announcement in which I'll include it. MLW is actually going to be on Sunday, so Christmas Eve. So that's going to be interesting. And then Friday, I actually have some plans. So no SmackDown or Rampage. Collision, I'll try to get done, but I may have some other things to do. I should be able to cover Collision. And then next week, I may take a little bit of a break because, well, there's not going to be a new Raw. It's going to be a best of. NWA is going to be their holiday party, which sounds to me like another best of. Maybe they'll have some extra matches on there that were not seen. I guess we'll see about that. Dynamite is ultimately going to be the same. Thursday, Impact is another best of / award show. And then it's going to be MLW. Friday is going to be SmackDown and Rampage. And then actually Friday, I think next week is also going to be Collision. So that's going to be interesting. Because next Saturday is AEW World's End, which, woo, that's going to be a good one. It's right in my backyard in Nassau Coliseum. Should be a fun one. So, anyway, that's it for me today. I hope you all enjoyed. Please like, comment on the video, subscribe if you haven't. And until next time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.